So it's time for us to eat some humble pie. This is Pakistan cricket at its best. Nasir Hussain's famous line, but swap the other way. 1 minute up, next minute down. I've got Zahid with me. Zahid, firstly, congratulations on your expert predictions. An India win, Kohli top scorer, and even Shaheen Afridi. 50% of Pakistan's wickets.
Yeah, could have
Well
been
done.
could have been 66% if Naseem could just spot the ball while fielding, which is I think a fielder's job. But anyways, as you can see, we've raised the white flag today with our white shirts. I think there's not much more you can do as a Pakistani on days like this. You eat the humble pie and you call it a day.
Is it just a day? Is it just a one off? Because annoyingly, it's spread over 2 days. So it's not like we were brilliant one day and just had a bad second day or vice versa. We were awful on both days.
But that's, as you say, that's Pakistan cricket, right? So it's one of those things. You can look at it as one of two things. You can say it's a bad day or two, and just get it over with and move on, or you can look at you can look at it from a drawing room expert perspective and deep dive into all the mistakes and how everything is fundamentally wrong in Pakistan cricket, and it's all because department cricket is not revived, and it's all these structural issues in Pakistan.
It's because of the
Or
prime minister. It's because of,
yeah,
yeah.
how and yeah, you can go into the nitty-gritties of Shadab Khan and Fakhar Zaman and Babur's captaincy, which I'm sure we'll get into. But let's start with Pakistan's ace or trump sweep, whatever you call it, the fast bowling. And as we said in our previous episode, how Gautam Gambhir said something about India's bowling being better than Pakistan's.
And well, I mean, and I laughed at it. And well, look, to be candid, I think, everyone's allowed sort of, a bad game. Like after the Champions Trophy final, we wouldn't say that Pakistan's batting is better than India's. Of course not. India's batting would still be better than Pakistan's, but they had an off day. I think here in this case, the alarming bit was one, it was spread over 2 days, but two, it was just as if they did not have a plan B, right? It was as if they discussed a certain plan going into the game, expected, almost took for granted a couple of breakthroughs in the first 10 overs because that's what they've become
Yeah.
accustomed to. But they don't have a fallback plan. And the issue is they have played a lot of their cricket against lower quality opposition. It's like when you play cricket with your cousin who's 5 years younger than you, and you suddenly feel like, you should be playing for the Pakistan team, you know what I mean? And then suddenly you come back down to earth. And I fear that's what's happened here with Pakistan.
No, I agree. I think they've been playing in very favorable conditions as well. As you remember, last time they played a B grade team in unfavorable conditions in England a couple of years ago. They lost 3-0. So it's not like, and by the way, there was a guy called Saud Shakil in that team who's got a 50 or two. Just by the way, mentioning, not that it's relevant for this conversation at all.
No, I'm so glad you did, because Babar Azam actually forgot that he had played that game because he thought he was making his debut against Afghanistan in the third one international, which just shows how out of the plans Saud is, unfortunately.
Yeah. And the other thing with the bowling actually, it's not a one-off, because Afghanistan a couple of weeks ago hit 228 for the opening partnership. They came back and they scored 300, which I guess India's equivalent was 360. That's the difference in quality between the two teams. So it's not a one-off. It is worrying. But in a way, I mean, you can argue that all of them had a niggle or an injury at one point. Naseem got hit on the hand. Shaheen got hit on the hand while fielding. Haris had the side strain. So excuses, yes. But what's more worrying for me is the lack of threat of Shadab Khan and the rest of the crew. I mean, you can't bowl an opposition out in 30 overs every time. It's not going to happen. Shadab, Fahim, Nawaz, whoever your fourth, fifth, sixth bowlers are, need to step up. As India showed today, Hardik Pandya was unplayable at times. Shardul Thakur, Kuldeep Yadav. So you need your supporting cast to turn up, and they just haven't. So.
And it's not about quality. I mean, even in the days of Wasim and Waqar, there were times when they would be taken to the cleaners. I mean, it just happens, right? And especially in limited overs cricket with restrictions, batting friendly wickets, it just tends to happen. But speaking of fifth and sixth bowling options, I think a big topic of discussion, which may get sort of overlooked, is was Fahim Ashraf, was he the right choice, and did he do a good enough job?
He did a good enough job for what he was supposed to do. If Harris was not injured, he wouldn't have had to do what he was ended up doing and conceded 20 in the whatever 18 in the last over.
Yeah, and look, it's not bad that it's not bad enough for you to drop him, but I think it's a question of what you want from him. So if you want him to control an end, he does that well.
Yeah.
But if you want him to pick up wickets in the middle overs because Shadab is not doing that for you, then Wasim is the better choice. See, that's the dilemma. And the dilemma all starts and ends, unfortunately, with Shadab, right?
Yeah.
Shadab's bowling average against the top sides in the world is, I think, over 40, right? Against England, New Zealand, India, and I think Australia, right? A lot of his success has been against lower quality opposition. No offense to to those countries, and he still hasn't got a 5 wicket haul, which just tells you as a leg spinner he's not doing.
Yeah, yeah. For me, I think he's
But
a bit of a PSL bully, and he's been exposed. I know people will start canceling us from now, but and to be
yeah,
honest, I mean, if we had the time, I would play Osama Mir, just because he's a genuine leg spinner. But I just think they'll continue with him. He's the vice captain and has all the perks, blah blah blah. But sometimes you need to make big decisions.
yeah, and credit where it's due, right? I thought India were
Yeah,
fantastic, right? And the clear difference is not in the array of strokes that the batters played. It's more the singles, the doubles, the strike rotation. I think only 50 or 54 of Kohli's 122 runs were in boundaries. The
six
rest were
fours, I think.
singles and doubles.
Yeah,
On the other hand, you have Babar Azam, who didn't get off the mark for the first 12 balls, and you've got our favorite topic from the last video, Fakhar Zaman, who, you know, sure, on his day, he can look fantastic and he can win the game for you, but as can 90% of batters on the international stage, right? Because that
I heard our vast fan base gave you some interesting feedback, strong feedback about Fakhar Zaman.
from a number of different quarters and social media channels. And I'm just going to keep it very simple. If the argument to keep him in the side is that on his day he can win the game single-handedly, I have to say that sounds very similar to a certain someone else to obsess
Who
over.
averaged 23 with the bat.
Who averages 23 with the bat and used to come in at number 8 eventually. Right now, obviously, Fakhar Zaman is a more accomplished batter, more so than Afridi, more than even Omar Akmal. But we used to make the same excuse time and again for all these other batters. And I think time is running out for Fakhar Zaman. He may be lucky that there's not enough time to experiment with an Abdullah Shafiq, but it is what it is. But I think we can both agree, I hope we can agree, that Aga Salman needs to way to South Shakil, right? He is PR machine. If you follow Pakistan cricket, all out, showing his 4 strokes that he's played in his international career, showing, and they use the word glamorous stroke play, and I was like, okay, well, just chill out, please. Like,
Form aside, he should be dropped for setting a bad example for young children watching cricket, batting without a helmet, trying to sweep a spinner and getting smacked in the face. I hope he's okay. He seemed okay because he continued to bat. I hope everything's fine. But for setting a bad example, I think he should be dropped, let alone what his performance has been, which has been pretty average anyway. So that's that.
Announcement was brought to you by Zahid Ali. But speaking of public service announcements, I think we owe a public service announcement to Babar Azam. I have come to the conclusion that his captaincy is far ahead of his time. I don't get it. I don't think anyone gets his captaincy. So I just try to put myself to sleep every night by telling myself that Babar Azam is doing something that no one else has ever thought of because he's a trendsetter, right? When you've got 2 quick wickets, what do? Bring your 5th and 6th bowlers on, spread the field far and wide, and you literally bowl gentle pie. And then you bring your best bowler on, and then you spread the field even wider just to give him the extra protection. And then you bring back your fifth bowler. Why? Because you don't want to take the chance of Nawaz bowling your last over, even though he's not in the playing 11, just in case Nawaz ends up bowling the last over. As remote a chance as that may be, given he's not in the playing 11, he does not take the chance. I mean, this is risk aversion and foresight at its best.
This is back to the 2013-14 Misbah days where it was defense.
I had a Yeah, it's defense, but Misbah had defense. I mean, he used to defend it, but I think Babar thought he was being aggressive here.
It's the point that you made at the beginning. There's a plan A. If things don't go to plan, he just loses it. Okay, Haris Rauf getting injured didn't help, but I mean that's an excuse that now he can hide behind. But some of his moves, I think, have been a bit I wouldn't say exposed, but I think he's got a lot to learn.
Yes, and I think they're a bit elementary. I think he sometimes thinks he's thinking outside the box, like bringing Fahim on before Haris Rauf on Sunday.
Yeah.
Probably thought he was doing something no one else ever thought of, pulling an MS Dhoni. But unfortunately, not everyone is as inspiring and thoughtful. But in any case, a disappointing finish. Just to finish it off, I was trying to rack my brains on when was the last time that we saw a Pakistan performance as listless as we saw over these last 2 days.
I can remember many performances from Team Pakistan, as you said, 1 minute up, 1 minute down. Obviously, the two Champions Trophy and the World Cup performances.
It's for me, I think the India game in 2019 World Cup, I thought that was terrible, but in comparison, that was a far better game because we actually made a match out of it. For a short period when Amir was bowling well with the older ball, and then when Babar and Fakhar struck up a partnership.
Yeah.
But for me, the last time we were completely blown away from ball one was against West Indies in the 2019 World Cup, and we all remember how that turned out, right?
Yeah, we were both there at that match. The trip to Nottingham was the trip to Nottingham was longer than the match itself. And the 2015 when we were like 1 for 4 against the West Indies, and we got hit for like 100 runs in the last 6 overs. But those were like stints of bad performances. But this game, 2 days of absolute 0 on 10 cricket. But I'll leave it to our audience as well to let us know in the comments if there are any other memorably horrendous Pakistani performances that they can think of. 99 World Cup final, maybe. But I'm sure there'll be many more because Pakistan cricket.
That no Pakistani wants to open. But in any case, look, Zahid, thank you for taking out the time. And hopefully, the next time we speak, it'll be an unaffected or rain unaffected game, and a game where Pakistan hopefully makes a match out of it.
Yeah, and we're wearing green shirts, not waving the white flag, and we're having a proper discussion about a third India-Pakistan match, which will be a 50-50, not a 99-1.